Hey guys, I'm Sai and welcome to A.C.E Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Football Show. This is episode number 112. The show is available live on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. A.C.E Podcast Nation, as you well know, home to many other great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more. So please give us a follow on social media, subscribe to that YouTube channel, click the bell for notifications every time we go live or upload a new show or series. And of course you can get the audio versions of every single show as well at your favourite radio or podcast platform. Just search A.C.E Podcast Nation and you'll get 360 plus shows or series. So check them out, have a look. And of course, if you'd like to just keep it solely football, you can follow at A.C.E Footy Show on all social media platforms and streamline your experience as we wait for those various platforms just to fill up a little bit. A big thank you to Black Diamond Sports as ever for all their support around the show. Black Diamond Sports is a global sports agency representing sports stars from around the world. For more information, you can visit their social media pages and of course their website, the links to which are in the description below and the closing credits at the end of the show. Today's sponsor, as usual, very proud to say, Bespoke Financial. Darren Ralston of Bespoke Financial is giving away a free will worth £140 with any new policy which is taken out at the moment. So please check him out, check out that offer, give him a call, see if he's got anything which could help you out in these strange and dire times. Of course, he's looked after Andy for many a year with various policies, including the critical illness, the injury cover, and of course they do all sorts of various packages and services. So hopefully they'd have something for you. Tell them we sent you, and we're very proud to partner up with such a top-class brand. They are award-winning for their service, and they are truly top of their field. And we thank them for sponsoring the show. We'll have a little ad from them a little bit later on. But in the meantime, with no further ado, let's get into it. We have joining me as ever, the goal collector, the co-host with the most, the fox in the box, the QPR dream killer, Davy Jones' favourite son, the speed demon, Mr. Andy Campbell. How goes it, my friend?
Good evening, mate. Yeah, another Monday, another guest, another amazing guest, by the way. I'm looking forward to this one. This one goes back a long time. I know we were talking just before we came on live. It's been seems like a lifetime ago since the last time we had a good conversation. But we had a few battles when we were growing up as kids. We had a few battles further on in our career, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And it's always nice to see players that you grew up with excelling and doing well and moving into certain areas within football. And I'm really intrigued into some further conversations within his career because he had a special career. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, myself included, mate. I'm really looking forward to having a good old chat, talking a bit of everything, talking our guest's career as well as some news, some Magnificent Seven, and of course our new feature, Tell Me Why, which I'm always looking forward to. Enjoy that, putting you and the guest under a bit of pressure for 60 seconds. But I am delighted to welcome tonight's guest. He is ex-Ipswich, Sunderland and Hartlepool United midfielder, Mr. Tommy Miller. How are you, Tommy?
Yeah, not too bad, lads. How are you doing?
All right,
great, Tom.
All
yeah,
right.
Absolutely appreciate your time. Obviously, I know football's not happening at the minute, which we're going to delve into obviously very soon, sooner rather than later. But no, great to speak to you.
Yeah, good. Likewise, mate. No problem whatsoever coming on the show. It's been a while since I
been too long, mate. I tell you, far too long. Right, yeah. Lifetime ago.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good crack. We're gonna have a bit of fun, have a good chat about the game we all love. There's lots to talk about, I tell you that. And what we like to do, Tommy, to start off is it's the Magnificent Seven, and what that is 7 quickfire questions for our viewers, just to get to know you a bit, get a feel for you and your tastes, what you like, what you don't like, maybe learn a little bit about some of your ex-teammates along the way as well. But let's see where we go with that first of all. So, okay, Tommy Miller, Magnificent Seven. Nice and easy to start. Messi or Ronaldo?
Ronaldo.
Ipswich or Sunderland?
Do you know what, Tommy? Right, there's always a few questions here. I'll take. I'll be honest. That's my fault. I do love a question which puts the cats amongst the pigeons. It's great, I tell you. Feel free to tell us that you're not answering it. Not bothered. I'm not bothered.
Both. I'll just put
Both. I like that. See, I like that. And do you know what, Si? I know we're gonna delve into obviously your time at both clubs in a little bit of detail, but. Listen, if someone said to me and put me on the spot, like they have done before, by the way, Middlesbrough or Cardiff, it puts you in a really difficult position where that you've had such an affiliation with fans, with players, with a club, with people who don't are always involved in the game side of it, and it's a question we love to throw out our side, don't we?
I love it. I like to throw a little grenade in there now and again, but they're nice and easy after this anyway. Nice and easy. So, favourite TV show.
Apart from anything football, probably The Chase. I don't mind watching The Chase at the minute.
Yeah, I like that.
The Chase.
No, that's all right. It's another new one. We have everyone says something different. It's always good. Seem to get a lot of cooking shows with that one. Andy will be right now. So next one up is
a bit of Grand Designs as well. A bit of Grand Design, isn't it?
There we go. And then we've also got angriest player you've ever played with an example if possible, but you don't have to give an example.
Jim Magilton, straight away. If you did not pass him the ball, or he wouldn't speak to you. Simple. He'd go probably a few days, 4 or 5 days without speaking to you. After that, he was just adamant he wanted the ball, and if he didn't give him it, he would fall out with you.
Is that because he was an experienced player, Tommy, that then?
Yeah, and I just think the way he played the game, he just wanted the ball anywhere on the field. He's on the edge of his own box, or he's on the edge of his own 6-yard box. Just give me the ball, and he's screaming and shouting at you, and it's like, Jim, you've got a man on you. No, give me the ball. And it was one of them. He was just dead passionate about the game, and he loved the game. But
must be worse for you though, because obviously you played alongside. Like when I say alongside him, I mean next to him. You know what I mean? Most of your time at Ipswich, so that must be even more difficult for you.
Oh, it was, yeah. I used to get it in the ear all the time, right next to him, in the ear. But you just sort of switch off a little bit after that, but like I say, a great player as well.
Yeah, good lad as well.
Phenomenal player. Very underrated. Toughest opponent?
Patrick Vieira, definitely. All arms, all legs, absolute powerhouse. Could not get nowhere near him. Unbelievable box-to-box player. And like I just said, all arms, all legs. He was an animal, a machine.
Do you think he gets enough credit, Tommy, for how good he was? Because everyone goes about Roy Keane, everyone goes on about Paul Pogba, everyone goes on about these kind of players. But someone like Patrick Vieira, who was part of the Invincibles, he's won Premier Leagues, he's won FA Cups, he's won the World. I'm sure he was in the World Cup squad, wasn't he? When France won the World Cup, so. Does he get the credit what he should get or he deserves?
I think if you ask any Arsenal fan, I think they obviously hold him in high esteem. But I probably agree with you. Everyone speaks about the Roy Keane, who was unbelievable as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no disrespect. Yeah.
Vieira wasn't far away, if not as good. Very, very good.
And toughest. Sorry, we just did that one. My mistake. Playing or coaching?
Playing. Definitely playing. I enjoy the coaching, love the coaching. That's obviously the next chapter. But you love it on a Saturday at 3 o'clock when you're lining up for the kick-off and you're out there and you're with your friends or with your teammates and you're trying to make a difference and you're trying to get 3 points on a Saturday. So I would say playing.
And you can't get that time back as well, Tommy, can you? When it's gone, it's gone. And
Exactly. And then you've got to move on. And like I say, that I love coaching and managing and stuff like that. But playing, it's good times.
Yeah.
And then lastly, we have the greatest Englishman who's ever lived. Doesn't have to be football related, that one.
It's a good question.
It's a good question,
It's a good question, isn't it?
The greatest Englishman. What answers have we had before, lads?
There's been all sorts, haven't there?
We've had
George,
a few sport related. We've had Winston Churchill. We've had a mixed
people,
bag, very mixed bag.
Obviously, we changed the question depending on the guest's nationality as well. So we've had I think Keith Gillespie said George Best. Some other people said different ones. It's all dependent really, and I guess. So what would yours be, And? Give Tommy a couple of seconds to have a think.
What would mine be if it was greatest Englishman ever? I would probably say I'd go family. I'd go me. I'd go me dad and me granddad because they taught me everything I knew, and if it wasn't for those two, they wouldn't have pushed me as far as that. I ended up going in life, and I'm not on about football. I'm on about role models and things. And I'd go family.
Yeah, I think you always look up to your
mine's
family,
personal.
your parents or whatever, and granddad.
Yeah, mine's personal.
So, go on, I'll agree with you.
Yeah.
I'll go with my dad as well.
So I think it's when you listen, when you obviously we're going to talk about obviously your dad, Tom, because I know how much he had an influence on your football career and football in general with a lot of players. But I think when you talk about granddads and things, you know what I mean? It's I don't know. We all take things for granted, especially what's going on in the world, and you know what I mean. And when we say about football careers, when they're gone, they're gone. And it's the same for family as well. You know what I mean? It's sometimes you know what I mean. We all rely on people to be there all the time to give us advice, to keep us going, to lift our spirits, and you know what I mean. It's difficult. You know what I mean. Especially you know what I mean that when you're playing football and you're trying to do things. You know, I lost my granddad when I was pretty young and I was playing football I'm only telling this story now because I talked about it with my dad about 2 weeks ago that. The day my granddad died, I was playing in the game, and my dad didn't tell me. I know my dad watches the show, so he'll probably be watching it. And he didn't tell me because he didn't want to put me off my game, and so he didn't tell me till after the game. And it upsets you that people have to go through things alone just so that they're trying to protect other people, and it's just family's just the best thing ever. I think it makes you appreciate it. Yeah, it's
quite similar to me that because my dad didn't want to tell me about my granddad dying, and we were at Man United at Old Trafford.
Oh yeah.
And then he told us on the way back. Yeah. So obviously,
and you remember it as well. You remember it because of you remember certain places now because of that reason, and it's
you do. And there was a few times when he was obviously in bad health, my granddad, and then there's a game I look back on. You know, when you get your old DVDs out or your video cassettes, and there's a game when we played Barnet at home, and I scored a hat trick, and my granddad wasn't well, but he managed to get to the game, and you just see him on one of the clips where I've scored the goal, and he sort of gets off his seat and he sort of does a little celebration, and you sort of think, well, he made a right effort to do that, you know, and he wasn't in good health, so yeah.
Yeah, it's in some ways I feel like grandfathers sometimes have a bigger influence on people, men and women, but particularly men, than sometimes like a father will, because it's a different relationship, isn't it? It's obviously your father you see day in, day out generally, whereas your grandfather you might not see every day. So it's a different relationship, and I think like my grandfather had a massive influence over me. I was only talking about it on Kev's show on Friday, and that about my grandfather when I was like 13. I used to get the train to Newport on the weekend and drink, and he made me drink cider. I say he made me.
Made you. I like that.
He used to take me to drink cider. That was my introduction to drinking in pubs. Drinking cider in Newport as like a 13, 14-year-old with my grandfather. But there we go. That's another story for another show. Okay, so that's the Magnificent Seven. So Andy, I'll put it to you, mate. Do you want to do any other business first, or do you want to do the two Tell Me Whys?
Let's start with any other business because I haven't got a clue what your Tell Me Whys are this week. So, and that face
easy peasy.
No, that face tells
Yeah, they're easy peasy. Gavin's not going to like one of them. I tell you that much. But apart from that, we're all good. So
any other business.
Any other business, which kind of it falls in nicely to our guest, who's obviously the assistant manager at Spennymoor, is that right?
Yep.
Did I get that right, yeah? And obviously, I was telling you, and just before the show, I had a message from a Merthyr fan asking if we would talk about the fact, at some point, when we have like a break where we haven't got a guest or something, talk about the fact that Merthyr basically pulled out of the season very quickly when lockdown was there. And, they know their finances at the end of the day, the people in charge, and they knew straight away that without fans they were going to struggle to pay their players to make the season. So they had to make a decision based upon that, And I'm sure the fans were not happy in terms of not being able to watch their club, but I'm sure they'd rather their club still be there. But Ange, you take it away, mate. I know you wouldn't.
Obviously, yeah. Obviously, there's being currently there is a vote, I believe, and obviously people are voting if they want to void the season or carry the season on. My issue I've got with it, Si and Tommy, is the leagues who run the divisions and know the clubs. They know exactly what's going on with finances with the club because they know exactly what players' contracts are. So they know exactly that the season potentially shouldn't have started. You know what I mean? They knew that things were going to happen. They knew fans weren't going to come back in, and the only income for clubs is fans through the door. You know what I mean? The players are getting well paid at a semi-pro level. You know what I mean? Some teams in that division where Tommy's in and the equivalent in the national south, they're full time. So players are full time. The class is full time footballers are getting full time wages for footballers, and it's, you know what I mean? Clubs are never going to be able to sustain it. You know what I mean? Teams like Hereford, York City. You know what I mean? Obviously, I don't need to tell Tommy how strong those sides are and how big those football clubs are in that league, but you know, I mean, those kind of players, the size of the squads, it's relentless. And how on earth the leagues and the chairmans and the expected this divisions and all the leagues and below to carry on is beyond me. You know what I mean? Because not getting tested, and that comes at a price as well. You've got no supporters coming through the door. How do people expect teams to finish the season? Was just ridiculous. Tommy, how did you feel as a club, players? Obviously, you must be still close to the lads and still close to the players. Obviously, still being staff and things. But how were the players took to not playing?
Well, frustrated. You know, very frustrated. It's been stop-start, and obviously lately it's been suspended. It's just been, like you said, it should never have started really. Yeah. The clubs were under the impression that there was going to be grants provided. Obviously that got the season underway, and then them grants ran out in January, and so now what they're saying is they're going to offer you loans. Well, clubs at our level are not going to take on loans. It's absolutely ridiculous. And whether they just sort of did that to get us through to January, and then they might have thought fans could be back in by then, but obviously, as you know and as you've seen, the people die and stuff through this virus. It's unbelievable. You know, and it's got worse. So it's a strange one because you've got clubs at the top of the league who are saying, yes, let's continue. Come on, we need to continue and do all this. You know, listen, them clubs have spent a lot of money. You know, so I get it from that side of things. But you're talking about health and safety of people. You know, we have volunteers who come and help us on a match day. Now, why would they put themselves at risk? You know, why would they? This virus is spreading so quickly.
And some Tommy as well. Some are at an age, aren't they, where they're probably vulnerable themselves. You know what I mean? And put themselves at risk. So you know, with health issues as well. Who absolutely love football, love the club, and if they can't go and there's still games on, it's going to affect their mental health. It's going to put them in a unhappy state as well. So you know what I mean? It'll probably be a relief that they don't have to go to games because the games aren't going to be there anymore.
I'm assuming as well. Exactly. That the non-league clubs are not being they're not able to test their players and their staff as you know as the teams at the Premier League and Championship are doing, where they're almost tested like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, probably on the weekend as well after the games, whereas the non-league teams don't even get that security around it. And Tommy, with there was a statement from Spennymoor just saying that they had voted to null and void the season. I was just wondering, really, as an insight into how football clubs run, did they talk to the management team about that, or was it down to the kind of the owners and that to make that decision?
Well, we were aware of the situation, obviously, and what was going to come out in the statement. But it's 100% the right decision from a football club point of view. Absolutely, you know, we can't be putting people at risk. Health and safety, and if you've got no fans coming in the gate, you know that there's your money, your funding, you know, towards players' wages, costs of running the club. Why you would take a loan on, and why the National League have said, oh yeah, there's loans available, it's beyond me. It's an absolute shambles, if I'm honest with you. And the National League suspended the league, which was the right thing to do 2 weeks ago, and then they've come back with, oh yeah, you've got to vote now with these options, but we expect you to resume football after them 2 weeks. Now, nothing's changed. So they're expecting teams to still play, teams to still travel. We were due to travel to Telford which is 4.5 hours away on a coach. So you're talking 25 plus on a coach with your players and your staff members. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then the National League have sort of gone into hiding and haven't made a statement since. So everyone's guessing and thinking what's happening next. And you're looking at Ollie Bayliss on Twitter, whether you follow him or not. He seems to know everything. So you just see what he says. It's mental, absolutely.
Well, Tommy just said there, you know what I mean? We're told by the government not to mix bubbles. We're told by the government to not travel and go into areas. But you're all right without a test to go to, you know what I mean, to go to the other side of the country for, you know what I mean? Because you know what I mean, they're on the cusp of that they should be in the Southern League. You know what I mean? They're on the cusp of they could be in the Southern League on another day. And for me, it's just absolute madness that they're spending more players who all work as well. You know what I mean? The lads who work are putting themselves at risk, absolutely. And then they can't go to work on Monday. There's a bigger picture, and the bigger picture is, it's regardless of the teams who are full time. You know what I mean? The semi-pro footballers who shouldn't have to put their job at risk, their family at risk, each other at risk, and for the sake of a game which potentially is going to get, like Tommy said there, Play Saturday is going to get voided anyway. So what's the point? You know what I mean? You've got, Tommy said there, you've got clubs there at the top of the league. I've named two of them who are Chester City, you're full time. You've got your York Cities. You've got some other big clubs as well who, yes, they spend big money. York City, listen, I feel really sorry for York. I've got some good friends there. I've got some ex-teammates there who I played with, who were on the coaching staff and things. Yes, they lost out last year because of points per game, which must have been heartbreaking. Yes, this season again is not going to help. But listen, there'll be no football without people. You know what I mean? And if people are going to continue to die, football's never going to be there anyway. So you know what I mean? There's a bigger picture involved. Just let's void the season. Let's start again when it's right to do so. Let people get back into stadiums when we can. If you've got to do, if it's fit to do so in the end of May, June, get some games, get some early pre-season games in, and get some money into the club and generate loads and loads of money. You know what I mean? And get some stadiums full, because people love it. People love to give back. People will go to games every day then when they're allowed to go back, especially semi-pro football, because they're going to love to give what they can back because they've missed it for that much. And especially some of the high-profile things. I expect every pro football club to give something back to semi-pro football as well. By the way, to go to the stay local, play Spenny, play Darlington, play, you know what I mean, and give it back. And that's what should happen. And I hope it happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
agree.
And to put it in context, mate, as well, a friend of mine who works for TalkSport went out to Abu Dhabi to cover the UFC. He had to do like a week's quarantine. Was tested numerous times before he went there. When he was there, when he when he came back, he had to quarantine. When he came back into the UK, all of that stuff. The UFC is tip top in terms of separating people, social distancing, the bubble. They're as good as anyone in the world for that. I knew already, but he put out there today that he caught COVID. He's not, don't know if he caught it there, but like, he's been tested multiple times and been in secure bubbles and still got it. Yeah, you're gonna have like Tommy's just saying, you're gonna go on a bus with 25 lads, not testing the players or anything like that, because non-league clubs don't have the funding to do multiple tests per week. So, like, of course, if you continue to do that, you are just asking for trouble, and you're just putting not just the players and their families at risk, but the staff, the people around the club, who are just in contact day to day because they're trying to keep football going. And
stupidity. And listen, Si,
it's needless.
We spoke on here about players and Troy Deeney when it all started. Troy Deeney not playing because he didn't want his family at risk. I think he had his son who wasn't very well. And you know what? Fair play to him. Fair play to every single player who doesn't want to play because they want to do the right thing for themselves or for the family or for some other reason. Forget football. You know what I mean? We all want to watch it, and we all still get to watch it. But we all get to watch it because of all these players getting tested all the time. You know what I mean? It's not about every level can't carry on. It's impossible. We've got to look after each other here. We've got to let the football be able to have a legacy. And there's going to be no football legacy if we carry on the way we are, because it's just never going to happen. You know what I mean? Put it to bed, move on. Disappointed, gutted. I'm gutted for all the players at Tommy's club. I'm gutted for Tommy. I'm gutted for Spenny. I'm gutted for the chairman, the owner. I'm gutted for York City. I'm gutted for all the local clubs. You know what I mean? I see Darlington won in the FA Trophy at the weekend.
FA Trophy, yeah.
The FA Trophy, and they can still go to Wembley but not have a season. It's just that's going to be difficult if they can do that. And I don't know if that's still going to happen. But listen,
That'd be so
if it
weird,
happens, it
wouldn't it?
happens. Yeah, but listen, it is what it is, and that could be any club, and it's one of those things. It's just there's more important things in life than kicking the ball around sometimes.
100%. James says there, he says, why didn't the Celtic players have to go through the same thing? I think he's referring to the UFC, the quarantine, yeah. So, in terms of the quarantine on the way out there, that was the UFC, like you're not allowed in their bubble unless you quarantine first, have a test, you have a negative test, then you're allowed into their bubble. Then you've got to stay within the complex, like the hotel and the swimming pool and all, like everything. And even like using the gym and the swimming pool, you've got to go at a certain time. You're only allowed to go with your team, etc., etc. So that's up to the UFC. So if the Scottish Premier League or the Premier League or Celtic as a football club, if they don't put those things in place, then
listen, what happened to them? They all caught COVID.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're all on buses together. They're on a plane together. You know what I mean? How stupid can you get? You know what I mean? I'm not gonna sit here and absolutely hammer it. You know what I mean? There's a reason why they're not going to win the Premier League this year now. You know what I mean? And that's got a massive reason to it, because when they didn't have their best players, they'll drop so many points because of it, and it serves them right.
Just leaving yourself wide open. Why a club that side would decide to go to Dubai? I mean, yes, it's great for team morale. Yes, it's great for team spirit. Yes, you can get some good training in and all that sort of stuff. But hang on a minute, what's going on in the world?
Yeah, who signed it off? Who signed it off? Whose idea was it, and who signed it off? Because the two people who, if it's the same person, they need their head looking at. You know what I mean? Because it's just stupidity.
Does warm weather training make that much difference that they desperately needed to get out there and do it? Is what I'd like to know.
Well, no, but it also, like Tommy said there, the position that Celtic were in, the way that things were going. You know what I mean? It's good for team morale. It's good to get this togetherness, but you can't spend time together anyway, because you've got to be 2 metre distance. You can't go and sit there. So it defeats the object. You know what I mean? So it's I know we're laughing, but it's serious. But it's laughable what they've done. Yeah. So it's just it's ridiculous.
On the issue of stupidity, I know we were going to keep it to the one any other business, but I do want to just make mention of this, because I think it was Craig in the chat made a mention of it as well. Mike Dean today notified the police that his family received a number of threats, including death threats and abusive messages, after he received criticism for sending off the Southampton player Jan Bednarek against United, so it was the second sending off in the United game, and the West Ham midfielder Thomas Suchik on Saturday. Like the Southampton one, just on the actual decision, like his hands were kind of tied, because as far as I can gather from speaking to people like Jeff Winter, speaking to Mark Halsey last week, like they're told they've got to follow to the letter of the law. The letter of the law was, if you don't make an effort to play the ball, then it's a red card. He pulled out of the challenge. So if there's contact there, which was minimal, yes, but if it's there, then he had to send him off, even if it was a ridiculous decision. So I do feel sorry for referees in that position, because they shouldn't be in that position, because there should be common sense whereby if someone's not making a challenge or trying not to make a challenge, that's not the same as just taking a player out, is it?
No. Well, listen, I watched the game on Saturday. Saturday night, wasn't it? It was West Ham against Fulham, and the issue I've got is how long it took Mike Dean to make that decision. So he watched the same incident for he must have watched it 10 times, if not more. So if after you've seen it the first time, he wasn't sure. After you've seen it the second time, he wasn't sure. After seeing the third time, he wasn't sure. So why wait that long? So the longer he waits, the more it's not a red card. I also want to know what is getting said in his earpiece. That's what as a football fan, as a manager, as a coach, I think we have the right to understand and to hear what he's being told upstairs. So is he being told it's a red, you need to go and look at it? So he's looked at it, he doesn't agree. He's looked at it again, he doesn't agree. The bloke in his ear is saying, it's a red, he's elbowed him. Yes, he has elbowed him, but he's just lifted his arm up. He's not elbowed him, but you know what I mean? I want to hear what's being said between two people, because I don't know who's at fault. Mike Dean's the one who's took the hit and took the blame, potentially for someone else who's told him that it's a red card, because that's not a red card.
Yeah. No, never a red card. Never. No.
In rugby and cricket, you can hear
It's been rescinded today. Yeah.
Crazy. In rugby and cricket, you can hear what the third umpires or the fourth officials are saying, so you know what's going on. and I think that actually helps in terms of the waiting and the time it takes to make the decision, because as a viewer you're involved in what's going on by you can watch them talking about it and looking at it and looking at the different angles, so you're looking at it in real time with them. So I feel like with that it doesn't feel like it's so long, even though it's probably taken longer in some cases than what we're getting now. But now, because it's just silence and you're just looking at the referee, he looks confused, the players look confused, the commentators are rambling on about nothing because they're confused. It just kind of kills it all. And I obviously, but anyway, the point being, like, I think it's shocking, especially in the way the world is at the moment, that we're still having to deal with things like death threats and stuff. Social media is like a cesspool. Like, Twitter is as bad as I can remember it being at the moment.
It was been this morning. It was on this morning.
Horrendous.
So it was Piers Morgan this morning was on about the false. We talked about last week, didn't we? Obviously the false names, and you know what I mean. Having your own photo ID to prove it's you, and you know what I mean. Every single person that I know has got their own picture, their own name. You know what I mean. Why hide behind a keyboard? Why hide behind something? You know what I mean? If you've got something to say and you want to say it, be my guest. If you want to say it, come on and say something about me or about my show or about me as a player, person, whatever. I don't care what you say, as long as it's from you. I really couldn't care less. You know what I mean? Someone's got an opinion, they've got an opinion. You can't change that. And if you want to do it over social media, that's fine. But don't hide behind something and don't be personal if you're not going to be able to back it up.
But if you're going to send death threats, or you're going to say send racial abuse or whatever it may be to people, then you've got to understand that that's against the law. Like, and I believe that's why they're hiding behind, fake names or whatever, or fake accounts. It's because they ultimately they think they're clever enough to not get traced. And as I tell my kids, mate, once you put something on the internet, it's there forever.
No going back.
And like that's about the only thing I feel like I can teach them these days is like, don't put anything on the internet that you're not happy with everybody else in the world seeing or hearing or whatever it may be.
Do you know what, Si? We spoke about this before, haven't we? And obviously the tweet that I put out a good few years ago now about a certain manager,
Davy Jones's favourite.
Davy Jones, yeah. And listen, if I didn't want to put that, I wouldn't have put it. I'd just skirted around it, or I deleted it. I meant every word what I wrote, so I left it out there, because all people do now is just screenshot it and they post it themselves anyway. So, and it looks like you've done something wrong if you delete. You know what I mean? For me, it's out there. It's out there. Just leave things as they are.
Just had a really interesting question, and so Craig Sullivan wants to know. And my answer might surprise people, it might not. But have any of you had any abuse, maybe from opposition fans or your fans, after a miss or a result? So I'll let you two go first, obviously, as the ex-professional footballers. Andy, you know the answer to this from my point of view already. But Tommy, what about you, mate? Have you ever had sort of abuse from, not necessarily in person, but maybe more on a social media sort of way?
Not particularly, no. I mean, I'm not massive on social media anyway, so I don't go searching for my name and look to see what people have put about us. And if I'm honest, I'm not bothered.
It wasn't really out as well, Tommy. It wasn't as out as it is now, is it?
No, it's not as, back in the day when people were playing in our sort of heyday. It wasn't as like common or whatever it is now. And I think on a match day when you're getting a bit of stick off the fans, I mean, tongue in cheek, isn't it? You just ride with that. It's fine. But it obviously, as the years has gone on, the racism and all that stuff, it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's crazy. And obviously on the social media now, they're just putting everything on there, and like you say, they're just hiding behind things, and it's a shame. It's an absolute shame.
Sometimes I'd rather people do it to people's faces. You know, there was a famous one in Cardiff. Obviously, I played against Leeds. I missed a penalty in possibly the worst game I could have missed a penalty in for Cardiff. You know what I mean? On the biggest stage for Cardiff City fans in their history, that we drew 0-0 with Leeds United at home. Missed a penalty. Obviously, my daughter was born 2 days previous, so I hadn't been to bed much. Not using that as an excuse, an awful penalty. But you go out there to celebrate, wet the baby's head and things, and I got absolute pelters abuse, and it's just you take it on the chin because you're putting yourself out there. If I didn't want to, I knew it was going to come. So if I didn't want it, I wouldn't have gone out. And it is one of those things. But like Tommy said, social media wasn't out there. So for me, it was more the radio. I remember, obviously, I used to do a lot of travelling with Willie Boland, and so we'd be in the car driving back from Newport or driving back from the ground to home and things, and we'd always stick the radio on just to listen to the phone-ins, and used to get absolutely. Some of us, at least one of us, would get absolutely pelters for something. You know what I mean? It'd just be. It's always a good laugh because the other person would just find it funny, and it just make the car journey a bit less serious. So you just had a bad result. You're getting abused on the radio, and it's just quite funny. Whereas, you know what I mean? It just makes you appreciate life because you're going out to see your family, and then football's being put to bed a little bit, so you can go and enjoy your night or a couple of days, and it just is what it is. It's just one of those things, and it's. Tommy said it there. It's sometimes you gotta look at it like it's water off a duck's back. You know, if you take it too serious, it can really affect you, especially nowadays because it's constant all of the time. And if someone's got 1 million followers and half of those are negative, you know what I mean? There's 500,000 people having a go at you. Whereas, you know what I mean, on the radio, there's only one person talking. You know what I mean? So it's not a lot in context.
No.
Indeed. So I leave my DMs open for people who are struggling with mental health, and I make that clear. I've always said that, like, the DMs for the podcast are open. I also leave my DMs on my personal account open, but I don't really use I don't broadcast my personal account really because I don't use it a great deal, and I've had a couple of messages since I've been doing this. I had one telling me that I shouldn't drink during a show, which was interesting because it's very distracting for the viewer if I'm having to drink, but it wasn't said quite as politely as that, to which I sort of said, do you want me to talk for 2 hours without like having any sort of fluid?
And when you say drink, you're on about a cup of tea or water, by the way. So not
you know like a bottle of water,
yeah.
like a bottle of water. Yeah. I'm sure if I.
It wasn't a very nice email.
Yeah, it was not very nice. It was really weird, and to make it worse, he said, I think it was something like, and if you just stop doing that, I'll definitely be a regular viewer because I love watching he's never watched since, as far as I'm aware. But there we go. It's probably because he's still drinking.
It's why you find it funny, isn't it? Because he said something about me doing it, but praised me whilst I was doing it. So I thought I was hilarious.
Andy does it quietly.
Every time I have a drink, I put myself on mute and I have a drink. So I've just always done it, and I don't think I used to do it, but because of that email, I do it now, and I quite religiously do it. And I think it's just quite funny that I got away with it and he didn't. So.
Yeah, I made sure I was extra loud drinking the next day. I did it right next to the mic on the next show, and I've had a couple. I had another one, just telling me that I was like a waste of space and an F in this and an F in that, and I just messaged back and said why, and he just said, because your shows are rubbish and all this sort of stuff. I was like, all right, okay,
fair one.
Thanks for taking the time to tell me. But that's all right. All feedback is welcome.
Constructive.
Yeah, and the fact is, I still counted his engagement towards my stats, so it doesn't matter. But and as Donna said, Costa Coffee would be fuming if me and Andy stopped drinking during our show and during the shows as well. So.
Yeah, obviously some information on that. Obviously, I think it was it Donna who told everybody that the sponsorship's not available.
A few people messaged them, didn't they?
Unfortunately. Hey,
jealousy gets you nowhere.
Get on with it.
But it's a good job that guy doesn't watch the Kev show, isn't it? If he doesn't like drinking on the show, gee whiz, Kev slurping away on his beers. Okay, let's move on.
My dad's comment there though. Put my dad's comment up.
Let's go. There you go.
See, bang on. Because I remember going to a game. I remember going to a game where my brother was playing, and I'm sure my dad had an argument with somebody because after having to go at Neil, and I just thought it was like one of the funniest things ever because I was probably saving up that abuse to tell him later on, just when he was getting on my nerves, just to say like, fans think you're rubbish or whatever, blah blah blah, and you know what I mean. But you can just see me dad just not concentrating on the game and just focusing on this one or two people or this area of people. It must be really difficult though because you know what I mean, because you're there to enjoy your game, and you see like Dyer ended up going up to the crowd because someone was upset I think it was his sister at the time, and it's not nice. Yeah. It's not nice to do, but people just continue seem to do it.
100%. I just remembered. Yeah, it does. Yeah, that must be really difficult. I got to say, for like, I think I would find it difficult. And actually, just reminded me of when my son was playing for Cardiff. I think under 9s or maybe under 10s, something like that. He was playing for Cardiff, and he was a goalkeeper. But when he used to play for Cardiff, he used to get really, really nervous. And he was a goalkeeper, and they were playing on a Friday night. He didn't know any of the boys in the team. It was his second game, but he was with a different team, so he never played with any of them. Didn't know any of them. He was already nervous because he was playing for Cardiff, and he was having a bad game. He made a couple of mistakes. And I was kind of stood behind the goal watching as I did, and just to the side there was 2 other dads whose kids were playing for Cardiff, and they were like taking the mick out of him and like not being very nice, and like I had to do everything just to, because like my son doesn't want me to cause a big scene arguing with 2 guys, but I was just like, wow, like they're 10 years old, and you're sat there like taking the mick out of a kid who's clearly like really anxious anyway. He's made a mistake, so he's even more anxious, and like you're 2 grown adults. Like I didn't like it at all.
Yeah,
I just went
nice.
and stood away. But that just reminded me of that.
I think that happens a lot in kids football as well. You'd be surprised. I've seen it before as well on a Sunday league, and you're watching it.
But that's at academy level. That was. That's what.
It's
worse,
ridiculous. Like, it's madness, and like you say on a senior level, professional level, and it must be hard. 'Cause you've got to bite your tongue, haven't you?
This is all adage, Tommy, isn't it? You know what I mean? That some parents see their son as an avenue for to live their dream, and that's not fair. You know what I mean? Too much pressure on that on their kid, and not nice on the other kids who've got to endure that as well, because it's the shouting, it's the pressure. It's not for me. Not for me.
No, same.
Indeed, yeah. It is what it is. I just wasn't very impressed. Right, let's move on to tell me why. Then I just remembered, and I didn't play my any other business little clip introduction. I love that as well with the newspapers. Disappointing. Tell me why. So in this one, Tommy, I'm going to ask 2 questions, and you and Andy have 60 seconds apiece to answer it. Basically, to tell me why.
Yeah.
So let's get this show on the road. So, question number 1. First of all, who would like to go first? Do we let the guest go first, and for the first one?
I'll let Tommy decide. We don't know the questions, so I'll let Tommy decide. First or second, Tom?
I'll go second.
There we go.
Ooh, okay.
Gives us time to think about it.
So Andy, the first question is, who will win the FA Cup this season and why? And your time starts now.
I would like. I think Chelsea will win it. I don't know why. I've just got a little feeling that when Frank was there, that he put his best side out. He made sure that he put all his best stars out because he didn't want to fall flat. Obviously, new managers come in and taken over, and I think he will be under pressure to win a trophy. And this is probably his only opportunity to win some silverware. Puts pressure on his players. Roman won't give him an opportunity to probably potentially not win anything. So I'm going to go for Chelsea, even though there are still some big sides left in it. I think Leicester City will have a say in it. I think they're doing very well, but for me, I think Chelsea will win the trophy.
Indeed, you've got 16 seconds left, but
16 seconds left.
16 seconds left, but
I'll let you. Did I?
I'll let you off. You've been very good. You've been very good, mate, as well. So I'm surprised by that. Okay, so Tommy, your 60 seconds on who will win the FA Cup and why starts now.
You'll have to remind me who's in it, who's left in it. If I'm honest with you.
Man City.
That's the question. Yeah. Man City, Man United, West Ham. Chelsea, Spurs.
Arsenal in the last round. Was it Southampton? No.
Yeah.
1-1 now.
I'm going to go for Spurs. I think if they can keep Harry Kane fit and they can keep obviously Son in the team as well, I think they're going to take some stopping. Jose Mourinho obviously has won trophies all his career, and I think in a one-off game he can get the best out of his team, and he can get them to Wembley and get them to a final. And once they get there, I'm sure they can win. I know a lot of fans who watch Tottenham will think they're pretty boring and pretty not entertaining at times, and they sit off and they just try and catch teams on the break. But I think on any given day, Tottenham are capable of beating anyone, let's be honest. And I think they could have a right go at the FA Cup, and Jose Mourinho could be the man to give them silverware.
He does like a trophy, does he?
He does. Well, he's in the final of the.
Timed that perfectly, Tommy.
He's in the final of the. He's in the final of the Coca-Cola Cup, isn't he, or whatever they call it now? So I think
Coca-Cola.
He's got an opportunity. Hasn't he? Call it anything now. It's Coca-Cola Cup, definitely.
Yeah, Taylor says there that he thinks Spurs will win, otherwise Jose will be gone. James Costley says anyone but Swansea. Swansea could be an outsider actually, because they are flying, unfortunately. And the next question is a bit more tricky. So, Tommy, do you want to go first or second again? Which one would you like to go?
I'll go first. Put us on the spot.
Go first this time. So, your question is, so for the last couple of years, I've had every man and their dog tell me that Liverpool goalkeeper Alisson is the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. If he isn't, he's not. But if he isn't, then who is and why? Your time starts now.
I'm going to go for Kasper Schmeichel. I think he is the best keeper in the Premier League. I think every year he's very, very consistent. Very, very rarely makes mistakes. He's good with his feet, but most importantly, he keeps the ball out the net. He's handling, he's shot stopping, he communicates well with his defenders, never misses a game, so reliable. And I think he's the best Premier League goalkeeper at the minute. Everyone says Alisson, but Alisson is not for me, and not just because of what happened at the weekend. Yes, Alisson can be good with his feet and all that, but I think when he's trying to save shots, I think he's a bit stiff, a bit rigid when he gets down. And I like the Man City keeper better than him anyway, Ederson. But overall, Kasper Schmeichel definitely.
Good shout, and you timed that. You timed that Andy Campbell style with 15 seconds still to go. But I'll let you off because the first go around you timed it perfectly.
We spoke about Kasper. We spoke about Kasper, though, didn't we?
We did, yeah. But I can't remember who it was with. But we had a good long chat about him, didn't we?
Yeah. I was going to go for him, but I won't. I'll change.
Yes. So Andy Campbell, who is the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, and why isn't it Alisson? The time starts now.
I'm going to go Ederson from Manchester City. For me, yes, he probably doesn't get tested as much as a Kasper Schmeichel as some other goalkeepers, but you can tell a good goalkeeper from concentration levels. You know what I mean? With his feet, I haven't seen a goalkeeper like it. His range of passing, the length of his kicks, his throw-in is outrageous. You know what I mean? His assist record this season, last season, is second to none. But he also commands excellence from his back four as well, and there's no for me there's no surprise that with some better defenders in front of him now that he's commanding excellence from John Stones, for example, who likes to play the same way he does. You know what I mean? Because Alisson Becker hasn't been busy in the last couple of years, hence why Liverpool have won the league. This year he's been a lot busier, and he's making some really, really silly errors. And you know what I mean, Tommy, we've all been there when we're not playing very well. Get rid of the ball, you know what I mean, not to the person next to you. He has an opportunity to smash the ball up there.
Time's up, my friend. Yeah, look, I think we've all played football to various levels. You two are professionals, but it's kind of like you're told, if you make a mistake, don't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
And that's almost like a life thing as well, isn't it? Like everybody makes mistakes, but don't try not to make the same mistake twice. To make the same or a similar mistake twice in the same game, in such a big game as well, it's not on me. And he's been caught out in the same way before, making similar errors. It is what it is. I think he's a very, very good goalkeeper. I just don't think he's the best in the Premier League. It's difficult though, because like a couple of years ago I'd have said De Gea all day long, but the last 2 years De Gea looks woeful. Like he looks so devoid of confidence. It's just such a strange one.
Listen, Si, you can go.
I like the Burnley keeper, but he's obviously not Premier League anymore.
Years gone by,
Burnley
though.
is still in the Premier League, isn't he?
Years gone by though. You know what I mean. You've got your Peter Schmeichels, you've got your David Seamans. You know what I mean. The standard was a lot stronger for me years ago. You know what I mean. With proper goalkeepers. Yes, they probably weren't as good on the floor with the feet, but they could defend their goal properly. You know what I mean, with whatever means. And I see. You know, I agree with Tommy. You know what I mean? Casper, for me, he's got the all-round package. You know what I mean? He doesn't mess about with it. Very rarely does he make a mistake. He's always there when he needs to. He spreads himself like his dad, and he's an absolutely fantastic goalkeeper. And we've said, didn't we, should he leave? Is it a risk to leave? Should he go to a bigger club and risk it? For me, he's playing for the Premier League champions. He's played in Europe before. He's playing regular, week in, week out. For me, he's got no reason to move. He's playing for the Champions League elect club this year. So, for me, stay where you are and just keep enjoying your football.
Yeah, I think I think the age he's at now, there's no need to move, is there? Like he won the Premier League, he's playing Champions League football, like you mentioned. I think if he was going to go, he might have gone to United a few years back, but because Leicester won the league and United have been struggling, it's like, why would you? I do wonder whether we might see him go to United in a couple of years' time when he's coming right to the end of his career as backup to like. Like sometimes the experienced keepers, we've seen it with Chelsea and United and Arsenal have signed like really experienced keepers who used to be the very best, but they'd like to have him as backup. So I think he could be maybe as he comes to the end of his career, just because of his dad, really, as kind of like a backup to Henderson. I'm not sure, but I like the Burnley keeper's good, man. Burnley keeper's
I
good.
like him. Yeah.
So we've got a few questions for Tommy in the old chat. So I'm going to skip back up to the start because we had a couple of really good ones. Stuart Campbell, Andy's dad, says, Tommy, what would you have been if you weren't a footballer?
My dad's full of great questions, by the way.
That's a good question.
It's a good question, isn't it?
With a question mark as well, by the way.
I think PE teacher, I've always liked a lot of sport, and I've done coaching with kids certainly as my career's gone on, and did bits and bobs when I can. So probably as a PE teacher, I was probably going to go down that route.
Indeed. Also, Gaz sent us a super chat. If you send a super chat, you'll always get your question. No matter how many questions or comments we've got, super chats will always get read out. He just says, best YouTube channel on the net. Guests on all shows have been on fire recently, especially the footy and the MMA. Keep it up. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that, mate. And it makes it even better when you get to read out nice comments like that. But the super chats, they'll always take a bit of precedent because I appreciate people taking the time to do that. Okay, next question. I do apologise because I'm skipping through. Let's have a look what we had. There was a really good one from... Where's he gone? Right, I can't find it now. Andy, Gavin asked, are you a relation to Kenny Miller? Out of interest, he says.
No relation. I've had that before. I've had that before.
Just say yes. Some banter.
Yeah, correct.
Gaz says West Ham United sending off was an absolute shambles. The Hammers are flying, but he said, who did you support growing up?
Myself, yeah. I had a few years supporting Liverpool. I think that's because we were winning everything back in the day. As a young lad, I was a bit of a Glory supporter. But Sunderland, I was a young lad. I was near Sunderland. We lived born and bred near there, so I used to go to their games because it was local, and used to go there with my dad. So I would say Sunderland.
So obviously, following on from that, then Tommy, did that make it even more special when you ended up playing for them later on in your career? And how proud of a moment was that to wear the red and white?
Yeah, it was. And it was obviously one of the reasons I went. There was a couple of teams interested, but as soon as Sunderland came in, it was an opportunity I couldn't turn down, and a chance to play for your boyhood team. Really, it was a great experience. Even though it didn't go according to plan, but I still managed to pull on the shirt.
And that's one thing that no one can take away from your side, can they? That you get that opportunity to play for your hometown club, and everybody wants to do it, but just circumstances or timings, it just doesn't work out. And he said there that it didn't work out the way he wanted to, but can't take that away from him. And you know what I mean. Obviously, I'm going to mention your dad now, Tom. That you said there that you went to the games with your dad. You know what I mean. So how proud was your dad to see you sign for Sunderland, and how much of an influence was he in your career? Because obviously, not just on you. Your dad had quite a big influence on quite a lot of footballers in the North East.
Yeah, I mean, he was a policeman, and then he had to retire on medical grounds. So he was doing a little bit of scouting, and he's been doing it for 20 years, 25 years, probably longer. And he's worked for various clubs. And I used to play for the school football team, the primary team, the junior team, and he used to run the Sunday team, Shotton Boys. So after every game, win, lose or draw, I used to get it in the neck. I think as fathers do, a bit of criticism. There was an odd time where he would praise me, but they were few and far between. But he kept me grounded, even as a young lad. You can always do this, you can always do this better, and he would always get on to me. And that carried on until I went to Hartlepool, and I broke into the Hartlepool team. And I think at first it was one of them where no one knew sort of what my strengths and weaknesses were, because I was sort of playing in midfield, but I was sitting a bit deep, and I was just passing the ball, keeping it really, and not really affecting the game. And my dad used to say, listen, you're doing okay, but you need to start making a difference. You need to start scoring goals, or you need to start getting assists, you need to start playing the ball forward, you need to start running forward. And all them things sort of stick with me, good advice at the time. And as a different manager came in, Chris Turner came in, he obviously helped me game as well, because he encouraged me to get forward. He saw something in training where this lad can finish, he can score goals, and he encouraged me to get forward. And it's just little things like that, and it sticks with you. And like my dad used to say, no one reads in the paper who keeps the ball or who passes the ball sideways or who passes. You need to get your name in the paper, score goals. And that always sticks with me, and obviously I was lucky enough to do that from Hartlepool onwards, really.
So would you say then, Tommy, that's the best advice you were given? Because obviously, I totally agree what your dad says. It's about, especially at an age when you were at and the level that you were playing at, and to get to that next level that you wanted to go, you needed to stand out. Obviously you got in the team of the year twice, which is great, because your peers voted for you, which is fantastic. For 2 consecutive seasons at Hartlepool. Because the Hartlepool team was strong, it was doing well, it was achieving quite a lot, but individually you obviously had dreams and aspirations to move. But like your dad said, it's about you scoring goals and you getting your name on newspapers, teletexts, Soccer Saturday nowadays. And that's the key, isn't it? It's the key to get your name out there as quick as possible to as many people as possible.
Yeah, I think as a young lad, and if you've got a bit of ability, you'll get chucked in. The manager at the time chucked me in, Mick Tate, and gave me my debut. And then the important thing after that is to stay in the team and make a difference. And keep working hard, and don't switch off, and keep doing the things that you did in training and what's getting you in the team. And like you say, my dad's advice was crucial, because make a difference. Don't just pass the ball for the sake of passing the ball. No one's going to see that, or it's not going to be in the papers about that. Score goals, assists, make a difference. And like I say, I did that at Hartlepool, and obviously lucky enough when I moved on with a few clubs as well.
As a coach, Tommy, is that something that you try to instill in players now, young players and probably experienced players, that kind of advice can filter down? Because you want players to do well, but if they make a difference, then it reflects good on you, it reflects good on other people, it reflects good on them, obviously it's going to reflect well on the team for 3 points and a good performance. So is that something as a coach you can try and instill in players as well?
Definitely. As you know, every individual is different, but if you would see a real strength in them, you encourage them to keep doing it. I was centre forward at Spenning, was as good as anything outside the Football League, and every time before games, all I have to say to him is, goals, Glenn, goals, score goals. He delivers, and every week in, week out, and that's what he's good at. He's an absolute goal machine. And there's other lads I say different stuff to, and because I know the strengths, because I've been at Springbok now 4.5 years, and the lads who we've got in there's a few been there from that time as well. And then as we get new lads in, you recognise them, what they're good at, and you try and encourage them to keep on doing it, to get it out of them on a match day.
To all our viewers who obviously don't know who we're talking about here, Glenn Taylor. Glenn's goal scoring record is something which is absolutely ridiculous. It's scary. The ability that lad's got is I don't know him personally, but is from an outsider looking in the games that I've watched is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know his personal circumstances, but how someone with that ability and his goal scoring record and the way that he plays is not being, someone's not took a risk on him is beyond me. You know what I mean? And obviously that's not news to Spennymoor fans who want to hear that. You know what I mean? And management staff and fellow players. But I just think, from a personal point of view, you know what I mean? For me, I see all these players getting an opportunity and getting moves and getting chances as centre forward. You know what I mean? For me, there's real gems in non-league football, and he's certainly one of them.
Definitely, and there's not just him. There's lads in our squad, our team who I believe could play higher. I've seen all the leagues, I've played in all the leagues, and I look at some players. Sometimes I'll go and watch a League Two game or a National League game, or I'll watch them on the telly, and I look at certain players and I think, there's lads at Spennymoor, or there's lads who we come up against could play higher. I think it's a consistency thing, and I get that they're probably at this level for a reason. But then I hear Glenn Taylor, for example, who scores goals season in, season out, and there has been clubs who've looked at him, but we're in a fortunate position at Spennymoor where we don't have to sell. He's 29, I think he is now, 28, 29. He teaches alternative education. He does stuff like that, so he's got a decent job, and he's with us as well. So for a club to come in, they would have to obviously pay the right money for him, and they would have to give him at least a 2-year contract for him to sort of leave his job as well and to leave Spennymoor. But he enjoys it, Spennymoor. He loves it, and hopefully we can get up through the leagues, or certainly get to the next level to match his ambitions and to match myself and all the staff and the players who come to the club as well, because they want to play higher. They have burning ambitions to play higher, and that's what we want, and that's what we want to do.
No, I totally agree, Tom, and like you say, there's players at the level you're talking about who could easily, go into. You say consistency, I agree, but then they're going to get more training. You know what I mean? So people, sometimes it's worth a punt.
Exactly.
It's worth something to give them an opportunity, if that's a 30-day trial at the end of the season, start of the season, and give them a real good opportunity because the team they're going to go back to will benefit. They'll either benefit financially, where they'll have to be paid a transfer fee, or they'll get a player back who's super fit because he's done 30 days solid pre-season. He's going to be match fit because he's going to be playing enough games. So it's win-win, and the lad will get the experience of going there and be given an opportunity as well, which is key because that kind of opportunity doesn't happen. You know what I mean? So if you want to take it, you take it with both hands and you give it a shot, because regrets sometimes in football, me and Si spoke about with certain players on here, ex-players, current players, and regrets can eat you up inside sometimes. And if you don't take that jump sometimes to see what it's like, it can eat you up a little bit.
Yeah, spot on, mate. Couldn't have said it better myself. So just before we move on, we've got some great questions, so I just want to quickly get a couple of these in. Tommy, Donna asked, what's your future ambitions?
To be a manager, to be a successful manager, to have longevity in the game. I realise it's hard, people who manage, especially in this day and age, don't get the length of time, and some don't get opportunities. We're too quick to maybe look abroad and get lads in and give them chances, but look after our own. We do the badges, we go through the same processes as other people who come from different countries. Give us a chance, give us an opportunity, and if we don't do it, then at least we've had a crack at it. I'm at Spennymoor at the minute. I'm interim manager, and I just want to do well for Spennymoor, and hopefully we can have success in the future.
Tommy, you said something interesting there. You said about people being given an opportunity. How frustrating is it then for someone who's got aspirations to be a manager, who's young yourself, obviously got qualifications, that you see some experienced people just come out of a job and go straight into a job? You know what I mean? How frustrating is that? Because you've got, like you say, you've got young people coming out of the game who've got aspirations, there's all this knowledge to pass on to people, but they're not getting the opportunity. An opportunity is key, because how can they pass that knowledge on if they've not got an opportunity to give it to?
I think it's very frustrating. Very frustrating. There's hundreds out there who want to get in the game, want to get their foot in the door somewhere, be given an opportunity. And you look at certain people who, listen, they've been good managers. I'm not criticising them. They'll get the sack somewhere, probably get a good payoff, and then they jump into another job. 6 weeks later? And I just sometimes it's just a merry-go-round. They go from one club to the other, and you've got lads out there who, how are they going to get experience if they never get an opportunity? And a lot of people will say that, well, he's got no experience, or how are you going to get it? If you don't get an opportunity, you'll never get that experience. And I came out the game from Hartlepool, went to Halifax, had one game, the manager got the sack, the assistant got the job, and he asked me to help him, and I learned so much then. And then I obviously came to Spennymoor, and I've been there 4.5 years, and I've learned so much from Jason Ainsey, the way his man management style is. But it was perfect for my development because Jason doesn't do any coaching, so I had a hands-on role in doing coaching, which I thoroughly enjoyed and I really loved. And now obviously Jason's stepped aside. He's been spending for 14 years. I'm sort of in the driving seat, and I've got an opportunity, and that's all it is. And I want to do my best for Spennymoor because they've given me a chance, and I want to repay that chance.
And that's fantastic, Tommy, because I wouldn't say we laugh and joke about it, but there's a certain manager in the football pyramid at the minute he's had 14 clubs in 12 years, John Sheridan. And John's had a really good career as a football player. He's had success as a football manager, but the safe option is not always the best option. You know what I mean? Sometimes about taking a risk. You know what I mean? Look at Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough took a huge risk on Jonathan Woodgate, and things didn't work out the way that Jonathan wanted, the way that I wanted as a Middlesbrough fan. I wanted the club to excel and do really well because I wanted to see one of our own. I wanted to see somebody with fresh, new, vibrant ideas be at the helm and bring in all these young players. And that was going to be key for me. And I see him losing a job. They're going to get someone experienced in, and other clubs seem to do the same thing. They go for that safe option. You know what I mean? Cardiff got Mick McCarthy. Sheffield Wednesday went for Tony Pulis. Middlesbrough went for Neil Warnock, and it just seems to be a knock-on effect. And how on earth is a young manager going to get an opportunity unless he's either number two, like yourself, we were under Jay, and then hoping that they step aside or worse, because even if the manager gets a sack, there's no guarantee that the assistant manager is going to keep his job as well. You know what I mean? At a certain point, so you're not even guaranteed that anymore now, because sometimes a new manager comes in, he brings his management team with him, like the top managers do. You know what I mean? Look at Frank Lampard. I mean, Jody Morris was doing a great job at Chelsea. He loses his job as well overnight. So it's such a shame. You know what I mean? There's football's is a cutthroat industry. You know what I mean? And you've got to be, and you've just got to be so lucky in the right place at the right time to get that opportunity and grasp it with both hands and give it everything you've got. Because we've just spoke there, haven't we, about regrets. You know what I mean? Because not giving it everything you've got. You know what I mean? I'd love to sit down and have Woody on here and ask him about, have you got any regrets about your time in Middlesbrough? You know what I mean? That Neil Harris at Cardiff, any regrets at Cardiff City? Not changing formation, not playing different players, because ultimately you lost your job because results weren't great, and your results weren't great because of what? Because your team wasn't picked properly, or your tactics weren't great, or whatever. You know what I mean? Because and that's a managers live and die by those calls, and you know what I mean. I've tried it. I enjoyed it for a little bit. Didn't enjoy it at the end, and got my fingers burnt, and I won't be doing it again. You know what I mean? But it takes a certain person like yourself who's got a passion and a drive to do it. You know what I mean? Like you earned your stripes. You said at Halifax Town, and Halifax, what a great club. You know what I mean? Absolutely fantastic club. You know what I mean? Run the right way. Lovely stadium. You know what I mean? Nice area. Fan base superb where it is. You know, and it's just it just gives you that appetite to want to do it again and again and again and get where you want to be.
I think when you finish playing as well, you're sort of starting off again, aren't you? I mean, I always had it in my mind that I wanted to be a manager, I wanted to be a coach from about 29, 30. So I sort of looking to do my badges, and you know the process you go through, and as you come towards the end, Swindon, Paolo Di Canio walked out, and I ended up getting the job with Darren Ward just on a caretaker basis. But we were both still in the team, and we both didn't want to come out the team, and that was hard. Even though it was only for 2 games, it suddenly you've got the job. And I look back and I think, was that the right opportunity? I was 33, was I 34? Was that my chance to sort of be at Swindon and have a go at it? Because the chairman did say, listen, is it for you? And I was like, well, not really, because I wanted to still play. I still thought I had a couple more years left in me, and I was still enjoying my football. The right time will come, and I've had to go down to Spennymoor level, which I don't mind at all, because as soon as I met the chairman, his ambitions for the club and the way the club is moving behind the scenes is phenomenal. You know, it is moving that quickly. It's brilliant to be part of it, and I'm learning all the time. And if I'd have gone in at Swindon, who knows? I might have lasted 6 weeks, 6 months. I might have done really well. You just don't know, and I could have been forgot about. I look at lads who come out the game, go straight into management. Within a year, they're out of a job, and then it's hard for them to get back in. I believe that what I'm doing, listen, it might prove wrong, but at this minute in time, I believe this is the right thing to do for myself. I've gone down to the lower leagues. I'm earning my stripes. I'm starting off again. I'm starting off my career again, and hopefully I can build my way back up. And hopefully that's with Spennymoor if we're successful. And who knows?
I totally agree. You know, you just put a word on there. It was Alan Jones. So I'll put you create your own destiny. And I totally agree. You know what I mean? You come out of a game, you come out of playing football, and you've got to reinvent yourself all over straight away again. You know what I mean? You're only as good as your last game. I totally agree. You know what I mean? Like yesterday you were a player, today you're a nobody. You know what I mean? And that's what that's what happens. And that sounds really, really tough and really callous. But unfortunately, that's just the way of the world. You know what I mean? Yesterday you were a professional, not you, but me. I was a professional footballer, but then the next day you're not. You're a normal person again. You know what I mean? You're not on that pedestal anymore. You're not important, so to speak. You know what I mean? And it's so important that people understand that football is getting close to reality in terms of that for me. You know what I mean? Footballers, especially 2021 current day footballers, they're so far away from normality. It's scary, but when you come out of the game, the reality smacks you in the face. So hit so bad and so tough and so hard. It's quite a reality shock at times.
Yeah, definitely.
100%. Okay, so just before we go back to the questions in the live chat, and because there is some absolute belters, I did want to just a quick ad from our sponsor, Bespoke Financial. We'll be back in just a minute.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so we wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and mummy and daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
Yeah, big thank you to Bespoke Financial as ever for sponsoring the show. You can find links and stuff to their website and to contact Darren in the description below, and of course on our social media pages. Or you could also get Darren's contact number from Andy or myself directly if you'd like to check out what they have to offer. But they specialise in life insurance, critical illness, income protection, mortgages and sports cover, and we thank them for sponsoring the show. So back to the questions, mate, because there is some absolute belters.
Yeah, there is.
Let's go back to a bit earlier on. Gavin asked Tommy, who is the best player that Tommy's ever played with?
Good question.
It's a good question, but my answer's always the same. There was a lad at Ipswich called Pablo Canago, Spanish lad, centre forward, superb, so strong, back to goal, unbelievable. You know, you didn't even have to look. We struck up a good partnership. You know, I would just play balls around the corner and he'd be there. It was like telepathic. You know, we had a good link up. He had a bit of fight in him as well, and he could finish. What a fantastic player he was, Pablo. Yeah, very good.
Does that suit then?
We both signed at the same time.
Oh, did you?
We both signed at the same time as well. A little story. He played for Spain, I think it was in the under-20, and they won the World Cup, and I'd come from Hartlepool, so you can imagine he's sort of looking at me thinking, who's this lad here? He's just played with, I think, Iniesta and Xavi and all them, and he's me coming from Division 3, 4 or whatever it was at the time, League 2 Hartlepool. But no, we struck up a good friendship, and I still speak to him this day, but very, very good player.
Hartlepool's far more exotic, Tommy, than Spain, mate. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
Definitely.
So obviously, you say you got a telepathic relationship. Is that obviously suit you down the ground? And with being a midfield player and wanting to go forward and play off the front man, you know what I mean? Obviously, that sounds like music to my ears. That you've got that kind of player to bounce off. You know what I mean? Because not many players, especially midfield players, you know what I mean, that wanted to go and score goals. You know what I mean? People like the Frank Lampard. You know what I mean? Your goal record yourself. You know what I mean? It's for a midfield player, it's second to none. You know what I mean? Because there's not that many midfielders who do go and get that many goals and want to score goals and want to get in the opposition box.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, I didn't even have to look. I just knew where he was. It was sort of, I'd play balls around corners and he was instantly there. And 9 times out of 10 he'd give us it back. So you'd get your little 1-2, and by the time you've sort of done it, their midfielders out of the game, you're getting the return, and you threw on goal, or you're creating something in the final third. You know, things open up, and he was brilliant for my game at Ipswich. And like I said, he would set me up for goals, and it was vice versa. And we struck up a really good friendship on and off the field.
Yeah, and I think it's important though sometimes, Tommy, isn't it, that you get that relationship on and off the pitch, because you said there that you signed at the same time, and it's always key, isn't it? Sometimes when you sign at the same time with a certain person, that you might be in the same hotel, or you might live near somebody, and you drive together, and you know what I mean. It's so important, because on the pitch and off the pitch, having a relationship with your teammates and your friends, that it makes football just a joy, and it just makes it like a hobby where when you're getting paid for it. It's just the best feeling in the world. It's just the best sport. Sometimes it's when it's right, when it really hits home and it's going perfect. There's no better feeling.
Well, you can imagine he didn't speak a word of English when he first came to Ipswich, and you've got me who
and yours isn't great.
Speaking 100 mile an hour, and I don't speak English neither. But you know, with a northeast accent, and he's looking at me, and in the end, I did learn a little bit of Spanish, and his English came on brilliant. So, like I say, good player, very good.
Well, that must have been a right double act, them two sides, tell you. Double act.
Donna asked, what was your proudest moment as a player, Tommy?
I think getting promoted with Huddersfield at Wembley in the playoff final, even though I missed a penalty in the shootout. We missed the first 3 actually. The old Cardiff lad, Alan Lee, he missed one. Damien Johnson as well, and then we still managed to win. And Alex Smithies, obviously Cardiff goalkeeper, he scored one. And then Simonson was up for Sheffield United, and he blazed it over the bar. Now if he'd scored, it was back around, and it was back to me who took it first. So you can imagine how I was feeling on the halfway line if he were to score. So yeah, probably that. A proud moment, achieving something, promotion. I've had some good times, obviously scoring goals at certain grounds, but to achieve something and to finish with a medal as such was a special day and a special occasion.
So how did you feel then, Tommy, then that day? Because obviously as a player, you fancied your chances. You thought you were going to win, but I think I watched the game. I watched it again today actually. I seen the game, and obviously Sheffield United were the favourites. Everyone expected them to win. So to win the game when you're underdogs is one thing, but then you go and miss a penalty and you still win. So was it bittersweet that you still won but you missed your penalty? It must have mixed emotions. Definitely.
I mean, if we'd have got beat, then it obviously changes everything, doesn't it? You're probably still thinking about it to this day. I don't really obviously think about it now because we've won, and it's all forgot about really. There's still the odd occasion where people mention, what happened to the penalty? But listen, we won the game, and that was the main thing. Yes, inside I was gutted, but we won, which was the main thing. Yeah,
which is important. You know what? There's probably no better way. I remember watching the game live, and with it being obviously 2 Yorkshire sides, it was such a guts and thunder game. Loads of tackles. Box to box incidents. And you could just tell the way the game was going. It was so edgy. It was the only way it was going to end. Was a penalty shootout, and and when it went to penalties, everyone wanted the underdog to win. And you just remember, don't you? When you say there, when I was watching it again today, I didn't realise how bad you started in the penalty shootout. And I'm thinking,
oh, terrible.
I can't remember. I couldn't remember the first 3, and thinking, I know how but pressure gets to everyone in different ways. That was it looked roasting as well.
It was roasting, and I mean, it went to extra time, and then funny enough, I nearly scored an extra time from a corner, and Michael Doyle cleared it off the line, and what could have been. And then at the end of the game, after extra time, I've gone to the toilet and I've come back out, and he's Jordan Rhodes, and he sort of just chucks me the ball, and he went, "You're up," and I was like, "All right, am I?" I mean, I was always confident from the spot, I think I got about 36 out of 36, and then I missed a few towards the end of my career, maybe 3, I think it was, and so I was very, very confident going up. Wembley, it didn't really faze me, and as I've hit the penalty, I mean, I knew straight away I haven't hit it well, and the keeper's read it, and he's went down to his left and saved it, and that walk back to the halfway line is a long walk, and I've got Peter Clark, who was the captain, and he just come up to me and he's gone, "Don't worry," he said, "someone else will miss." I didn't think he meant that the next two for us we were going to miss as well. But, fortunately, we got through, and Harry Maguire, I think he took one of the penalties as well in the shootout, for Sheffield United, but it was a good day. It all ended well in the end.
I read something, Tommy, something interesting about Scotland and Bertie Vogts and getting selected for the Scotland squad, but obviously, unfortunately, I think it was twice on 2 different occasions you got selected for the Scotland squad, but got injured on both occasions. Was that right?
That's right. I mean, we played Derby at home for Ipswich, and Willie Donaghy, who was Scottish through and through, who was the assistant manager to Joe Ross, he kept saying to me, "Are you sure you're not Scottish? Have you not got no relations? Have you not got anything? I'm going to find out. I want you to play for Scotland." And as it happens, my grand's Scottish, so I got my passport out, and he sort of sent everything up to the Scottish FA, and they kept an eye on me, and I was doing quite well, and I ended up going up for like a training get together after one of the games. Got the train up from Ipswich, and I went in, and Bertie Vogts gets us in a meeting, and this is no word of a lie. The first words he said were, "I'd like to thank you all for coming on behalf of the German FA, I mean the Scottish FA. What is going on here?" So he's obviously making a rick straight away, and it was when Scotland were struggling, everything was going badly for them, nothing was going right. And I'll be honest with you, I went up there, and I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy it. My head just wasn't with Scotland. And I look back and I think, wasn't it a good opportunity to play international football? At that moment in time, I think England had just won the Rugby World Cup, so there's loads of celebrations with England and all that, and I just felt I was too English to play for Scottish. Now that might sound daft, because a lot of people jump on the bandwagon and they play for Ireland because they've been to Ireland on holiday, or they're getting a dog from Ireland, all sorts of things happen. And listen, if that works for them and that's good for them, great. And that's probably getting them an extra move, or might be getting them an extra few quid in the bank, and probably give them good memories as well. But from a personal point of view, one of the reasons was I didn't really feel Scottish enough to play for Scotland. And
fair one.
And that's been fair, and that's been fair. But as it happens, going back to the original question, when I did go for this training camp, I did get injured on the Saturday for Ipswich, and I went up to show my face, and obviously Bertie Vogts gave her that speech, and I trained. I think it was the 3rd day. I missed the first 2 days through injury. Trained the 3rd day, struggled a little bit, got sent back home because of the injury, and then I missed the next game for Ipswich, I think it was. So it didn't pan out probably how Scotland would have liked. But from a personal point of view, like I just said, it wasn't really for me.
Do you think sometimes, Tommy, then the standard of level you're playing club level was higher than the level you were going to international level, so to speak? You know what I mean? I'm not being disrespectful at the time, but the level of players that the Scottish had to pick from wasn't probably as strong as the team you were playing for and against week in, week out at the level you were playing at with Ipswich.
Yeah, I mean, it was going well with Ipswich, we were doing really well, we had some good players, and Scotland were obviously in a bit of a mess, it wasn't going great for them, but I wouldn't say that was one of the reasons. To play for your country, should be a proud achievement, you're standing there, you're singing the song, and like I said, I'm not Scottish, my gran was Scottish, yes, so I have got a little bit of Scottish in me, but obviously if it was England, I knew England wouldn't happen, but if it was England, then it's a totally different ballgame.
Yeah. Fair one.
So, funny little tip right here for you both. We're at an hour and 25 minutes into the show, and someone who's watched from pretty much the start just texted me and said, I've been watching along, and I thought that was Tommy Smith. They just realised that it's Tommy Miller, which I thought was outstanding. But he did say his eyes
Tommy Smith. I've had that.
his eyes are getting worse, which is just remarkable, I've got to say. But then I said to Andy just before you joined us, I was saying in my head, and when I've been typing texts or messages or social media posts, I keep going to write Tommy Smith. Don't know why. I've never spoken.
He's got the look of Tommy. He's got the look of Tommy Smith. I played with Tommy. I played with Tommy a couple of times. One with England and one with don't know where it was when I played with him. Good lad, Tommy. Good player as well. Very good player.
Yeah, he scored a few goals, didn't he? He was decent.
Yeah, very good player. Yeah.
Forward.
Yeah, he looked like he didn't care. He looked like a lackadaisical and like just coasted around. But I tell you what, when he got the ball in that left hand side and he drove past people and he just certainly knew where the goal was. Top player.
Yeah, very clever. Gavin asked, "What's the best stadium that Tommy's ever played at?"
I've been fortunate to play at some good stadiums and some big ones, but in terms of atmosphere, occasions, and managing to score there, Anfield takes some beat. To score at the Cop End, I think you're in the tunnel before the game and you can hear the fans singing "You'll Never Walk Alone." And I go back to when I was a young and I had a little feeling for Liverpool. You know, they were winning everything back in the day, and I sort of support them as a kid growing up. And then obviously Sunderland were my team, but I had a real soft spot for Liverpool. So to go there, to walk out, you know, the history, the tradition that stadium has, and to luckily score a goal as well at the Cop End, it was a fantastic occasion, and the hairs on the back of your neck stand up when they're singing "You'll Never Walk Alone." It is a very, very special place.
And I love that side because no one can ever take that away from you. You know what I mean? Regardless what the result is, you know what I mean? You scored at the Anfield, you know what I mean? And the Cop End is it's just so famous. It's scary, you know. That I was really lucky. I made my debut there for Middlesbrough. I think I was just 16-year-old, and different for us because we didn't walk out. We walked out and gave the guard of honour to Ian Rush because it was Ian Rush's last game at Anfield. So it was like "You'll Never Walk Alone" was just screaming out. Everyone was, because Ian brought his Rushy brought his little kids and stuff, and it was just amazing. I was stood there just wetting myself as a young lad, thinking, "There's Neil Ruddock, there's Dan Collymore, there's Robbie Fowler, and there's Ian Rush." I'm thinking this is just going to be horrific. You know what I mean? Just
surreal, isn't it?
Things
surreal.
like that, just, you know what I mean. But it's only I don't know about you, Tommy. It's only when you retire that you look back at those occasions and think, do you know what? How proud I am that happened. You know, that no one can ever take it away from you. And you look back at certain games, certain moments, goals or whatever, or certain things that you've got medals, like you said earlier on. And it's absolutely fantastic because it's just things to look back at.
It is, because you think it's going to happen a lot, or you think it's going to happen again, and yes, it might happen another time, or maybe twice at a push, but it's not the norm, is it? You know, these are special places you're playing at against special players. And I remember just going back to when I was a young kid at Hartlepool in the youth team, and Billy Horner was the coach. And Billy, I was 16-year-old, and Billy used to say to me, used to go, "Make sure you make the most of it because it soon goes." And them words stick in my head, and I used to go, "What do you mean it soon goes? I'm 16-year-old, I'm a young kid." I can still remember him saying them words to me. "Make sure you make the most of it because it soon goes." Before you know it, you're 36, you're finishing, and you're going to your next sort of career, coaching or whatever it is. And them words stick in my head from that moment.
Totally
and he
agree.
was right. He was absolutely right.
Did you ever play at Ninian Park, Tommy?
I did, and I've got a good story for Ninian Park. Or have you got it for me? Are you quizzing me on that? Or
No,
every guest gets asked the same question.
Ninian Park was what stadium? You know, like a hostile environment, great at playing, and it was I played there a few times, you know, over the years, and always enjoyed playing there. But one in particular was the year 2000, and we were playing, and the likes of Scott Young and Earnshaw and all them were playing, and Nogan, Nugent was it, and Bonner. Yeah,
Nugent.
Now I scored in the 89th minute to make it 2-1 to Hartlepool, and we still got beat 3-2. I couldn't believe it. You know, Kurt Nugent equalised, and then Mark Bonner, is it the second?
Yeah, Mark Bonner,
he scored the winner in I think the 93rd, 94th minute. So it was an absolute sickener. But no, it was a very good place to play. You know, like I said earlier, hostile, and the fans were on top of you, and a great atmosphere. And you know, I enjoyed playing there. And I played there quite a few times, and I managed to get a few more goals, I think, over the years with different clubs. And yeah, good.
Yeah.
Proper
Those are the
football
grounds. Yeah, but those are the ground side that there's few and far between now. You know what I mean? That people go to new stadiums, the atmosphere doesn't follow them across, and it's, you know what I mean. Look at Cardiff alone, look at Middlesbrough. You know what I mean?
You lose it, don't you?
It's lost the heritage. It loses the atmosphere. It loses the fun aspect because people can't sit together. People, you know what I mean? People talk about safe standing, which I'd love to see it at a proper ground with proper fans to see if it works out. I know Celtic tried it for a season or half a season, but it never really took off. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean, Cardiff City doing it, or you know what I mean, or a Millwall doing it, or another side doing it who's got like a history with fanatical fans would be something special for me.
Well, I mean, it's the tradition of these old grounds, you know, like the memories and the moments and all that sort of stuff for supporters. It's a shame, really, and I know sometimes you've got to move on and you're building stuff, and obviously it's a money thing as well because it generates more money and all that, but it's sad in a way because they are good grounds and good old-fashioned grounds. Yeah, I
agree.
Donna asked a good question, Tommy. She said, who did you dislike more when playing for Sunderland, Middlesbrough or Newcastle?
Oh, Newcastle, 100%. Yeah, Newcastle, the big derby, you know what I mean? That is the big derby. I mean, Middlesbrough is a derby as such, but
it's not the main. It's not the main. It's not the main one.
No, Southern Newcastle's the
doesn't get any bigger than that.
Massive one.
Doesn't get any bigger than that.
No, that is a proper derby.
So what I'm going to do, Tommy, now just for the last 5 minutes, I'm going to just pick out a couple of odd questions. I'm not going to be able to get through every single one, so I'm going to pick out some of the ones that I like. Craig asked, do you worry about losing your best players, which could harm your results, or do you get pride in players moving up the leagues?
I think at Spennymoor we're very fortunate where we've got a chairman who is ambitious, who supports us either way. You know, listen, if we said to him, there's interest from a club in one of our players, and every player has its price, of course they do, you know, and we wouldn't stand in someone's way of an opportunity to play full-time football and to get a chance in the Football League, you know, but it would have to be right for both parties, and like I touched on, it's got to be right financially as well, you know, the club has to get money to merit why he's moving on, and so we all want them to progress, and we hope they can progress with Spennymoor. That is the aim, that is the ambition.
Absolutely. Taylor asked, and Andy's dad asked a similar question. They kind of go together, but Taylor asked, which manager had the biggest influence on your career?
I think I've played for a lot, as Andy has as well. Joe Royle was the best I played under, from everything, you know, a personality point of view. He was great man management. He was very laid back in terms of on the training field. You know, Willie Donaghy used to do a lot of the coaching, if not everything. And then Joe would sort of come along and put his little input into things. But on a match day, Joe would give you your roles and responsibilities, and he was excellent, Joe. You know, and listen, he had if things weren't going right, he would have a right go as well. You know, so he had that side to him as well. But just a great bloke who knew how to get the best out of you, and I would have to say Joe Royle was certainly me number one.
I think that's key though for me, Si. You know what I mean? We said earlier on about old school managers. You know what I mean? I'll put Joe in that category. I know he's not working at the minute, but you know what I mean? The managers who can 1 minute be nice as pie and the next minute go absolutely crazy, and that keeps players on the toes. Players love that. You know what I mean? Players love it. Players love the unpredictability. The managers who don't do anything Monday to Friday, but then come alive on a Saturday. You know what I mean? Come alive at 12 o'clock on a Saturday till 5 o'clock because that's their game time. You know what I mean? And that's key to being a good manager, because if you can do that, and without really getting involved during the week, just watching and picking up bits and just snippets, and then pulling lads over and getting a little bit more out of them, or putting an arm around somebody or shouting at somebody else, that's a skill in itself. Being a good man manager, you look at the Harry Redknapps and people like that. It's just so important that those kind of individuals are involved in football. You know what I mean? I'm not contradicting myself. You know what I mean? But I love a man manager. You know what I mean? They're the best people who kept me on my toes, or give me the kick with the backside when I've done something wrong, and I love that. You know what I mean? It's tactics all the time. Doesn't work, and players sometimes switch off. You know what I mean? So it's about sometimes having that fine balance, and Joe Royal especially. You know what I mean? And Peter Reeds and the Brian Robsons and Sir Alex Ferguson. You know what I mean? You telling me Sir Alex Ferguson got on the training ground and coached? No, he didn't.
No.
He stood and watched a five-a-side or a session or a shooting drill or a defending drill from Brian Kidd, from Steve McLaren. That's why he hired all the best coaches he could get at the time.
Yeah.
Good shout. Stuart Campbell asked Tommy, what is the best and worst decisions that you have made in your career?
The worst is coming on here. Thanks, Dad.
The best decision was signing for Ipswich. I think leaving Hartlepool, it was the right time. I could have left the year before, not necessarily Ipswich. There was a few clubs interested, but I thought I'd give it another year at Hartlepool and see if we can get them over the line, promotion. And it was the second year on the bounce, we got beat on the playoffs. So that was probably my best decision, picking Ipswich, a chance to play Premier League football, a chance to play European football, a chance to play with better players, and obviously I'd had a spell there as a schoolboy, so I knew a little bit about the club anyway. The worst decision, that's a tough one because I'm one of these who doesn't really have any regrets. I think at the time you make decisions and you sort of stick to them, and that's what I've done all my career. And listen, they might not have worked out how I wanted them to, but at that minute in time, that was my decision, and that's what I'm quite forthright in with my opinions and with my decisions, and I wouldn't change them. So in terms of regrets, I'd probably just scored that penalty in the playoff final. That's probably my regret. I wish I'd gone the other side. I wish I'd gone the other side.
It doesn't matter. Okay. It doesn't matter how good or bad a penalty is. Go the other side, it goes in, doesn't it?
Okay, I'm gonna pick one more question then to finish us off.
Person.
I'm just gonna scroll up and down until Andy says stop.
Stop. I was trying to scroll.
No questions on there.
I'm trying to scroll.
Just pick one. You go. That's a good one to finish. Donna Perry asks, did you play under Mick McCarthy, Tommy? And if so, is he any good?
I did. Mick signed me for Sunderland. A quick story. So I signed for Sunderland. I met him in Portugal, actually. He was in the same resort as me, and I had a little chat with him in the hotel, and obviously he didn't have to tell me about the club because Sunderland fan, I knew all about it, how passionate the fans were and how big the club is and all sorts of stuff. So it was just a case of how he saw the new season and what his sort of plans were to get players in. And so I signed, and then I was looking for a house, and I managed to buy a house, but it wasn't going to be ready for about 5 months, I think it was, so it was just a new build. So I ended up going to look at this apartment. So as I've gone and drove through the entrance and pulled my car around, I parked in between two spaces. Didn't think anything of it. There was loads of spaces available. So I walked up the stairs. The woman showed me around the apartment. I thought, this is great. This will do me until the house is ready. So all of a sudden, there's a big knock at the door. The woman sort of looks at me thinking, who could this be? Another knock at the door, wasn't going away. So she's opened the door and he's Mick McCarthy at the door. So you can imagine my sort of face. I've sort of looked at him and he's looked at me and he's gone, "Oi, do you mind moving your effing car?" And I went, "Oh, sorry, I didn't realise you lived here." "Well, I do. Now move your effing car." I'd literally been signed 2 weeks. I thought, what a start this is. So I ended up, funny enough, I got the apartment and I was next door to Mick for about, like I said, 5 months. My door was directly across from his. So you can imagine there was a few nights out where I had to sort of tiptoe up the stairs and tiptoe down the stairs. But he lived, obviously there was one pub on there. Now, I'm very friendly with the person who's got it, so he would give us the shout. He's Mick on his way in, so there was a few of us who lived on there who played for Sunderland, so we used to just hop it out the fire exit. To be fair, we were aware when Nick was on his way in, but he's a smashing bloke. He is what he is. You know, he will tell you how it is to your face. He's a truthful person, and I got on really well with him. You know, he had I wouldn't say a tough time at Sunderland. He got Sunderland promoted, you know, and I think if he'd had money to spend like previous managers over the years that Sunderland have had, I wouldn't say he'd still be there, but he would certainly have had a lot of success. And I think that was the only downfall. He didn't have the money to spend at Sunderland, because if he did, he would have kept Sunderland in the Premier League. But a smashing bloke, and I'm sure he'll do well for Cardiff. He'll get them organised. He'll get them. They'll be hard to beat. They were big from set pieces, for and against. And he'll get lads playing for him because he's a smashing guy, and I hope he does really well.
Well, he's got off to a great start. Tommy mentioned there set pieces. You know what I mean? Saturday against Bristol City. You know what I mean? It was what Tommy just said. It was what it says in the tin. You know what I mean? He was direct. He got in the faces. He won battles. He played for set pieces. He had some absolute monsters going forward for all his set pieces, and he got the result what he needed and kept a clean sheet. So for me, so far so good. All you can do is judge him on his results and judge him the way he's going.
Absolutely,
and you can only work with the people he's got. And for me, the style that Mick McCarthy's got works wonders with the players that Cardiff City have currently got. They're just a little bit naive with the appointments. Previous manager, I believe, but let's see. I'll give Mick my total support because I think he's doing a great job so far.
Yeah, not bad start at all. And that's us. The bit of a slightly longer show today, which is always nice. Few little scheduling notes. Wednesday night we got the Danny Batten Fight Show. We have UFC number 9 ranked fighter Arnold Allen is the guest, following on from Bellator heavyweight Linton Vassell last week. We have a championship show Friday. We might also have another Super Kev Unscripted on Friday. I'm just waiting for confirmation on that one, so keep an eye on the social medias for that. And also we'll be dropping a little video trailer or a little clip, maybe to talk about some guests coming up. Maybe if you're lucky, keep an eye out for that one because that's going to be special. As ever, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Look out for any extra content which we put out. And a massive thank you to Black Diamond Sports. Big thank you to Bespoke Financial for sponsoring the show. Most importantly, thank you to my co-host, Mr. Andy Campbell.
Thanks, mate. And listen, there's no better job doing this show with the people that we keep getting on with. The guess what? Time's flying by. The shows are a great laugh. I'm like a kid in a sweet shop. I just love doing it. I just love talking to people and reminiscing about careers and just with friends, with people. And I'm so proud to say that I'm friends with people who've done so well in the career. It's amazing. So thank you, Tommy, from me personally and from the show for coming on, mate. You've been an absolute superb guest with some great stories, by the way. Feedback's been immense.
Absolute pleasure, lads. Thanks for having me on. Really enjoyed it, lads. Thank you.
Yeah, top man. Cheers, Tommy. And of course, we couldn't do it without all the people asking the questions, putting the comments and everything in the live chat. The viewers, the listeners, thank you. I hope you'll join us Wednesday, Friday, and for every other day. But look out for news and stuff about the guest next week, because we're on a roll now. We've got Tommy Miller today, phenomenal. Next week, phenomenal. Last week we had Mark Halsey, phenomenal. And there's 2 classic ones coming up straight after Tommy. I was so excited because Tommy is the start of 3 fantastic guests in a row. But for this evening, we are done. Gentlemen, thank you. To the people, thank you. We'll be back soon. Take care, stay safe, and be good.
Cheers, guys.